You Against You. I am your host, Deja Nicole, and in You Against You Season 2 is all about healing girl era. So each episode is tied in with healing yourself or healing your inner child or even healing your adult self. So yeah, but in today's episode I am going to talk about isolation and how isolation is good to an extent. But before I get into today's episode, go follow the You Against You podcast Instagram, which is You Against You Pod by Deja, and you can follow the host, which is me, Deja Nicole, at my Instagram, which is Deja DAJAH underscore Nicole NICOLE underscore. So you can also follow my personal Instagram, and you can follow the podcast TikTok, which is the same as the Instagram. So that is again You Against You Pod by Deja. And also go add yourself to the Geneva group chat. That link is always in the show notes. And of course, this list will be in the show notes. All of my social medias will be in the show notes as well. But let's just get into today's episode. So I'm actually going to record another episode right after this because I am going out of town. But your girl gotta do what she gotta do, and I have to create more content before I go for brands. So that's why I'm doing a lot of batch content for my YouTube channel, for my podcast, and also for like Instagram. I will probably take some pictures either tomorrow or Thursday because today is Tuesday. And if you also notice, I now change my posting days on Friday than Tuesday. It's just better that way. So yeah, but let's finally get into this episode. So like I said, the title of today's podcast episode is Isolation is Good, and I feel like it is, and that's why I put it into this whole season of healing girl era, because in some point of your healing journey you have to isolate yourself to get back in your zone. Now, what do you mean get back into your zone? So that can be getting back into your grind, whatever it is, because when we are sad in this black dark hole, we are at a point that we're depressed. We don't feel like doing anything. We don't like taking care of our hygiene. For some people that is eating at least 2 meals a day, working on ourselves, so going on a walk or going to the gym or even doing yoga or meditation. Or we do eat but we're not eating healthy, so we just basically toss our good habits out the window, and you shouldn't do that. Yes, we do go into a period of time of darkness multiple times, because we never know what can be the factor to be put in a darkness area in our life. So this episode is basically talking about why sometimes when you're just coming out of that darkness and getting back to the light, you have to isolate yourself and just think, because you can't really think if there's like a lot of chaos around you to the point that it's going to put you back in the darkness. And I really do hope that this episode can help you. So yeah, so my asthma is kind of bothering me. I have a little cough, so sorry about that, but let's talk about it. So the first key point I'm going to talk about is that being alone is not always lonely. I feel like a lot of people get that mixed up, of being alone is the same as being lonely, you can be in a group of friends, like a friend group, and still feel lonely. You can be in a place with a lot of people that you are very comfortable with and still feel lonely. When you're alone, it's mostly bringing you peace, but you know that you're not lonely. It's just you taking time away from everything that's happening in the world to just give you peace of mind and just bring peace to yourself. So like I said, a lot of people do get those mixed up, but it is not the same. If I can give you like a real definition of lonely and alone, I'm going to do that. I am literally going on Google. So the definition of lonely is sad because one has no friends or company, without companions, solitary, a place of unfrequent and remote. So that's the definition of lonely. And if you can hear of those 3 different definitions that I just read out, you can hear different forms of solitary, so alone, without companions, so no friends, sad, or yeah, sad was the first one, but it is basically you feeling that you have no one with you or no one in your life, to the point that you have someone to talk to. And I feel like when people get like in like you know, I don't want to like sugarcoat it, so when people get depressed and in their like dark times, they do feel lonely because they feel like they do not have a companionship or just friends or someone to talk to, and they feel like they are in like a solitary confinement, when in fact that is the opposite, but they don't see it that way. Now, what is the definition of alone? So let me do it. Let me like find the definition. So the definition of alone is having no one else present on one's own, indicate that something is confined to the subject or recipient. So you just have no one present. So like right now, if I like have to use alone in a sentence, I am alone in my room recording this podcast episode for you guys. You see, I'm just one person with a camera, with the mic, with the ring light, and I'm alone in my room recording this episode. So there is a difference between being lonely and being alone. Again, if you want to be alone, just take yourself out the crowd and go somewhere quiet, peaceful, try to meditate for a couple of minutes. Or, you know, if you just feel like you don't belong, you can always take yourself out of that situation and be alone for a couple of minutes. Well, lonely means you can be in a room, but you feel like no one really cares about you, you're sad, you're depressed, and you're just in this dark hole. So I just feel like that definition, those two comparison and contrast, like they're not the same. They might sound the same, but they're not. The contrast of each can get you a better understanding of what each word means. So again, being alone is not always lonely. This will also help you mentally and help you figure out about yourself that you never knew about you, and you can start pinpointing bad habits and want to know how you can change those bad habits into good habits. Now, what are some activities that you can do for isolation? So like I said, isolation is when you're alone. So what are some activities that you can do while you're alone? So the first thing that pops in my mind is going on a walk and listening to a podcast. I like listening to a podcast when I'm going on walks, and I'm gonna give you like some of my favorite podcasts that I like to listen to. So one of my favorite podcasts to listen to while I'm on a walk is 80/20. Another one is Hot Girl Energy podcast. I have just started listening to For the Girls podcast, Morning Ray podcast, the Wellness Cafe podcast, Sad to Savage podcast. Another one is Know For Sure podcast. What is another one? Let me look. Another podcast I like listening to on walks, which is actually another small podcaster, is Glow Up Syndrome. I'm actually doing a podcast swap for that podcast. So I already pre-recorded like my episode with her, and then Sunday I'm going to do her episode, so we're going to pre-record that. So yeah, those are some of the podcasts I like to listen to. I like to listen to, not listening, but I like to listen to while I'm on my walks. And also just going on a walk by myself makes me reflect on life. It also let me reflect what is around me. I'm getting fresh air. I don't hear people around me like talking so loud, especially that I'm in like a loud household, because I got like 4 brothers and they're all loud, and they do that on purpose, especially like when I'm recording. So sometimes just going on a walk is just so much better than not going on a walk, I would say. Another activity that you can do in isolation is cook your favorite meal. I like cooking pasta. I like cooking shrimp alfredo, to be exact. I like cooking like fish and chicken. Like I just bought me some chicken thighs today at Walmart, so I can't wait to make probably chicken alfredo with like one of the thighs, and then I don't know with the rest, because I have like protein spaghetti, so I'm gonna use that and make like alfredo, because I have leftover alfredo sauce and I love making that. Is easy, something simple to make, especially that if you're someone who is new to cooking, you can make shrimp alfredo, which is easy, and you can buy pre-cooked shrimp and you don't have to worry about like it being done. It's already cooked, you just have to like put it on the stove and all that, and also add seasoning. I like to make lobster. Lobster is actually easy to cook. Another thing that I like to cook is I like to cook asparagus. Asparagus is actually one of my favorite vegetables, but growing up I didn't like it because whoever made it for me one day made it too smushy. They made it too smushy and I didn't like that texture. Like I'm kind of like a texture person with certain foods, and I did not like that texture at all. And you're not supposed to actually overcook it to the point that it is smushy, and of course you can't undercook it because it would be still crunchy, but it has to be like in the middle of crunchy and kind of like smushy, but it's not like you like chewing it like a piece of gum. So like I used to not like asparagus, and I don't know, I was on TikTok and someone was like, one of my favorite vegetables is asparagus, this is like most of the health benefits, this and that, and I bought it and I don't regret it buying it because I love making it. I might actually get some next time I go to the store and buy and make it. Not buy, yeah, buy it of course, but make it. And what I like to do is I like to add garlic powder and onion powder to it. It's a pinch of salt and pepper, Sometimes if I wanted to add like a kick of spice, I'll add like cayenne pepper to it, but I usually add just onion and garlic powder, which kind of enhance the flavor in my opinion, but that's just me. Another thing I like to cook is I think well I wouldn't say it's like cooking, but it can be like a meal because people like drink these as a meal, is smoothies. I'm actually getting back in the habit of making smoothies, especially green smoothies, but I love making smoothies. I was like at a point in my life like 2-3 years ago, I would say, that I will always make a smoothie for breakfast every single day, and I want to get back into that habit because I want to make like a smoothie cookbook one day, because I have so many recipes just for smoothies, and it's very amazing that a smoothie can fill you up. It just depends on what you put in it. I know like if I add flax seeds to it, it's going to fill me up for like an hour or two, but I like doing that. I love making smoothies. Now another activity that you can do as you are in your isolation period, in your healing girl era, is trying a new hobby or revisiting an old hobby. So I used to love writing. Like after high school, I picked up the hobby of writing to the point that I was like, I'm going to write a novel. Actually, that's a lie. I actually started writing, like creative writing, back in middle school, but after high school I did decide to write a novel, but because of school and content creation, I actually put that on hold. Do I want to be an author one day? Yes, I do. So that is one hobby I am planning to revisit, is creative writing, because I love just making up a story in my head and just typing it all up, and then I know one day it's going to be like in bookstores or libraries and on Amazon. Like that is my goal, is to be an author. Like I read a lot of non-fiction books now, but but me doing creative writing and making fiction books actually went back to me reading like Dork Diaries, some of other like romance novels back in middle school and beginning of high school. And to be honest, I always want to write a romance novel, which I am writing. I'm also planning to write a murder romance novel in a way. That's going to be like a lot of wow moments in that one. And I just have so many like novels ideas in my head that I know that I'm going to write them. Sometimes if I do have a new book title that I want to do, I will like grab my handy dandy phone, go on my note app and type the title, try to think of some characters off the bat, and be like, okay, one day I'm going to start writing this novel, but I kind of have a general idea of who are the main characters, who are the sub characters, what's the title, and what's the plot of it. So yeah. And a new hobby that I want to try is something that I'm hoping is really like I'm good at it when I go to Dominican Republic next week. So I do go to Dominican Republic next week on Tuesday. So this episode is coming out Friday, but the episode I'm recording after this is coming out next Friday. And I'm going to go golfing. Now, I never played golf. I never even played mini golf, and I know that it looks easy, but it probably won't be easy, and I want to try golf. I just feel like it's like a Pinterest moment for some reason. And another sport that I do want to try is tennis. I always wanted to try tennis back in high school. I almost wanted to try out for the team, but for some reason I didn't. And me being someone with a heart disease, sports can be tricky, and I just never really like tried it. But if I know I can do 5 minutes to 6 minutes to up to 10 minutes on a Stairmasters, and I have asthma and a heart disease and a rare heart disease to be as that, then I know I can do tennis. So I know that I'm trying golf some point next week, but I do want to try tennis as well. Maybe 1 year I will find like a tennis instructor and try it, and then y'all know when I started. But that is like a hobby I want to try. Now, another reason, which is the next key point on why isolation is good, is that it boosts your creativity. Now, you could be like confused on what I mean by that, but to be honest, I have a question. Do you usually get ideas when you're in a quiet space, or if you're in a chaotic space? Some people, it is chaotic because that's the only way they can think, but for most people it is in a quiet space. Me, it's both, but I do know I have the most creative ideas when I'm in a quiet space than a chaotic space. So it just depends on who you are, and like I said, everyone is different, but it does boost your creativity. And to be honest, that is good, because if you want to start a new side hustle to get some extra cash, that would be like something good, and you never knew that you would ever actually thought about that, and it probably never like went past your mind or went through your mind when you like out in public when it's loud, until you got home and it's quiet and you'd be like, wow, I don't know how I thought about this now, but I should have thought about it early, but I couldn't. So it's good that I did thought about it now, you know, something like that. I guess that really explains. Okay, now the fourth and final key point that I'm going to talk about in this episode is how can you be isolated. Now, we are in a world of things happening outside and inside our home. So when I mean outside, I mean news outlets are saying all these news that could be real or it could be a hoax. You got maybe ambulance all over, helicopters. So it's not always peace and quiet, you know, some point during the day. And inside your home or your workplace, it's not always quiet during the day. Now, how can you be isolated? So the first thing you want to do is plan a time, a period actually, in your day. So yeah, time in your day, or if you want to do this longer, so a period in your life to be isolated, no matter what it is. I know if I like had money, like a lot of money, and I want to just have a 3-month period of isolation, I'll probably travel outside the country and just stay there for 3 months. And some people actually do that. And if you want like a time of isolation, you can go to a library. People feel like they're isolated in a gym no matter the background noise of the gym is just them feeling isolated, because them working out helps them block out everything that is outside of them. A lot of people like to go on drives, so you should plan this ahead of time. And when you're in this isolation period, like I said, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to de-stress, and it's going to help your mental health as well. Another way to be isolated is eliminate distractions. So a lot of us like to be distracted, or not like, but we do be distracted on our phone. I know I do, especially on TikTok. I don't like using it. I only use it to promote my YouTube channel, my podcast, and some business. But I do get distracted on my phone, and I usually put my phone on do not disturb. I feel like it helps me not get distracted easily. Plus, I know with some apps like Instagram, there's a mode where you can like have it set on when you can get notifications and when you stop getting notifications from the app, which is actually pretty helpful, because I use Instagram a lot for, you know, post ideas, captions ideas, networking, because I'm in a lot of Instagram group chats. So I use that, and it can be distracting because I like just going through each and different reels and post ideas, and it's just fun to look at and it's interesting, but it is distracting as well. Another way that you can be isolated is start to learn the value of solitude. So like I said in the beginning of this episode, is that being lonely and being alone is different. When you're alone, you're in a solitary state, but not completely. So you just have to learn how you can like remove yourself for a period of time to just get peace within yourself, I can say. Yeah, so like that. And it will also make you value life more after that. And the last way that you can be isolated is to learn to take time for yourself. So a lot of people, we don't do this. A lot of people don't, including myself. We have so many things to do and other people to like check up on or care for, and we just never really like stopped for like a second and asked if we're okay or what do we need as a person. And it just how society works in a way, and how the world works. So I think that's why. And it's well, hold up, I was gonna say something, but let me say this. I feel like it's just how the world makes it feels like you're selfish when you do like learn to just take care and take time for yourself for a bit. But it's really not, because you don't want to put yourself in a mental spiral. And yeah, so let me close down this episode, and I really do hope that y'all like this episode, but let me close it down. Okay, so I really do hope that you like this episode, which is all about how to be isolated and how isolation is good. If you want to listen to other podcast episodes, you can just check out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts plus YouTube. But Also, you can go follow the podcast Instagram, which is again you against you pod.by Deja, and that is the same username for the TikTok. And if you want to follow the host, which is me, you can follow my Instagram, which is Deja DAJAH underscore Nicole NICOLE underscore. And remember that it is you against you, so meaning if you want something to happen, you have to do it. You can't let someone else do it for you, because at the end of the day, the world is not going to care about you, and you have to only care about yourself. And just keep pushing yourself to greater things in life. But I really do hope that you like this episode. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. If you're listening to this on Spotify, leave a rating. And if you're listening to this, well, watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, plus like it and subscribe. And I hope that you have a nice and wonderful day, and I see y'all in the next episode. I love you guys.